What's up, my bearded bros? Bearded Maniac here with another roster update for MLB The Show 17. I do this not every time it just comes out, but when I first see it. I haven't been on this game in a while due to the recent buzz in the NBA free agency, which technically none of the moves made are official until July 6th when the moratorium ends. But we start off with the giant left fielder, Austin Slater, who's now usable or actually tradable. And what I mean by that is if you do rebuilds like I always do every Sunday, then you'll notice being a 74 overall compared to a 62 makes him extremely more valuable when trading for other teams. 74 probably isn't going to be somebody that you keep as a starter, but you could realistically keep him as a backup. Because when you look at his stats, how they got increased, you might want to keep him as a backup. He's got good speed, 64, good fielding at a 70. His durability is really good. His arms, a 72, and his arm accuracy is a 68, which is solid. His reaction time is extremely solid. His discipline went up 13. It's 41, which isn't too good, but for a backup, it's not bad. Then you look at his stats versus left-handers. This is where he comes in clutch. 82 overall because it went up 23. Contact versus left. Power versus left went up 35 to 64. Granted, versus right, it's not as good. 66 and 34 respectively. But still, he's usable. He could service in case of an injury, which is helpful. His vision has gone up a little bit, which is nice. But a 12 overall jump. This is amazing for rebuilds. Either he's a backup or he's a lot more valuable for trades. Then most noticeably here for the Dodgers, you have Chris Taylor, a shortstop that honestly I've never even heard of. And he went up 8 overall. And he's got not just 8 overall, but where he got boosted big time. He's now up to 74 speed, which is super clutch. An amazing backup if you keep a backup shortstop or if you need to trade for a backup shortstop. This might be the guy to get. Now you might ask me why. It's because of his speed and his stealing. He would be the kind of guy that you put into games if you can manage them. Because some people who rebuild do quick manage games. He's a guy you put in the game to pinch run for because with 74 speed and 52 stealing, a jump of 33 points, mind you, he's a good pinch runner for someone who's, let's say, a slower first baseman or something. His fielding went up to 72 with a 13 jump, which is nice. His power went up 11 and 19 respectively, which is awesome. His contact 64 and his contact versus left is 75 because that got boosted 6. And his discipline's also 74. So these stats tell me he can get on base and he can turn a single into a double relatively easy. And being a 78, he's either extremely valuable in trades or he's a very, very solid backup. Then you have the Indians. Lonnie Chisenhall. Sorry, I might pronounce some of these names wrong. Contact went up left. Contact versus right went up 7. His power went up 18 and 14 respectively, which is insane. His contact versus power is pretty balanced. His vision's still solid. His discipline's actually respectable now. It doesn't go up much, but 55 is much more respectable than 51, just because 51's He's got okay speed. His fielding isn't too impressive. His arm strength or accuracy is not too impressive, so he might be more of a backup as well, because I don't know if I trust him enough as starting so many games in the outfield. Then you have the White Sox Matt Davidson. He's seen a +6 boost, but a lot of that is his vision got knocked down to 19. So this might be a guy that if you have to keep him, you'll probably slate him as a backup third baseman to maybe bat against lefties. But I don't know, that 19 vision is a deal breaker for me. He's only got 48 discipline. Granted, his power versus left is so tempting, 78. With a 66 contact, that's pretty solid. His fielding does leave a little bit to be desired, but who knows. Then you have the standard boost of, doesn't explain why he went from a 51 to 55, but why not? Michael Taylor for the Nats becomes more tradable. Not sure if I'd want to keep him where his discipline and vision went down. And to me, those stats are crucial because you don't see the run numbers or RBI numbers that you normally would see, or at least even batting percentage with stuff like that. They start striking out more. It's just disappointing. Granted, his contact to left went up 17 and his power right went up 17. I think that's what saved him in this update because he only went +4, yet he had 2 +17 boost. But he does become usable when his speed is 79 and 77 and his stealing's 59, so he does become one of those kind of guys where he can be a solid backup in case of injury, or he could also be used as a pinch runner, like I said before. Then you have Tyler Flowers of the Braves. Now this doesn't seem like much. He's only went up 4. He's now an 80 overall. But the reason why I say this is completely astounding for an update is, let's say you're aiming to rebuild the Braves. Being a 76, you're like, I need a catcher who's a lot better. Because having a 76 in the bottom or middle of the lineup can be very detrimental. And I say that in the sense of how his stats went up. If they were what they were previously, it'd be even harder to use him effectively. An 80 is a solid catcher, so you can concentrate on other positions that need help. And Lord knows if you're the Braves, you need lots of help. As you can see, his contact versus right went up 18, and his contact versus left went up 3. So that's now a solid 75 and 65. His power, not the greatest, but still kind of respectable, with a 58 versus right after going up 4, and 51 versus left after going down 6. But he's not really a power hitter in the first place. But what makes me think he's actually usable now as a starting catcher, possibly if you cannot find anybody better, or if you can't get a better salary-wise guy, is this vision's now a 48 compared to a 30. Now that doesn't seem like much, but that's that's almost a 50% increase from what it previously was. Actually, that's over a 50% increase from what it previously was, because it was 30, went up 18 points, which would be 6/10. So it went up 60%, which is nice. His discipline went from a 52 to a 66, so he's much more reliable. His arm strength and accuracy is at that range where it's really solid. His blocking's solid. His fielding's okay. His durability's okay. His speed's not that good, but he's a catcher. And his blocking is solid. For a catcher, that's important. Then next, you got Logan Morrison. Seen one small nerf to his contact versus left, but versus right-handed batters, right-handed pitchers, he's probably that guy you're going to want to throw in at first base if you can, as a backup if you have to. Power versus right, 85. That's going to come in clutch. A power versus left of 65. Super clutch compared to 50 when you think that this guy could be a backup to rest or a backup in case of injury, which both are extremely needed when you're doing rebuilds. Because I can't tell you how many times I have lost a starter who did not have a proper backup and I got royally shit screwed. Then you go on to the next page, you got some standard low guys getting boosted for no reason. 2 people that got boosted for no reason. Then you have Keon Broxton, center fielder for the Brewers. I know this video is taking a lot longer than I expected. He would have received a bigger boost in 3, and he would have been much more notable if he did not receive the major boost or nerf to discipline. But where I say that's not a big deal is his discipline's still an 82, his speed's an 86, and his stealing's a 78. His contact's not the greatest, but his contact versus right went up to a 48, which is much more respectable. His power is now a 69 and a 74, going up 13 and 10 respectively. His durability is great at an 81. His fielding's strong at 72. His reaction time is actually pretty astounding for an 83. You don't see many of those around. His arm strength and accuracy, 66, 69, kind of respectable. As you can see, his real life stats, you can see why his contact isn't rated too high, where he's only hitting 226. But his speed and stealing being an 86 and a 78, if there's any guy I've listed today that's a pinch runner, if you have to have a pinch runner, it's this guy. But then again, this guy's most likely in your starting lineup because he's 80, and he's most likely not going to be that expensive. Then you have Brad Hand, who went up 3 overall, only because of a +7 to his walk per 9, which is now 58, which is more respectable, and a +3 to his hits per 9, which is now an 83, which is much more respectable. Joe Kelly receives a boost up to 71, because as you can see, he went from the rotation, where Doug Fister got signed by the Red Sox, to the bullpen, so they dropped his stamina from 66 to 30, which I don't understand how making a move from the starter to the bullpen automatically drops stamina in this game, but for some reason they do it. His velocity, for some reason, saw a boost of +70. I'm pretty sure that's a glitch. And the break is now an 82, 81, which might not be a glitch. Control went down 1. His walks per 9 went down 9. His hits per 9 went up 20 to 77. That's respectable. His clutch went up, and his home runs per 9 went up. He's got decent durability, but I'm pretty sure that velocity is a glitch. Joe Kelly cannot throw that hard. His ERA is actually pretty solid too. By the way, another low guy who it doesn't explain going up. There's not too many increases today. A lot more. Don't know why this went up. Ender Inciarte, center fielder for the Braves, 84 overall. He got boosted because of contact versus left. Now, this is the kind of guy you're going to want at the front of your lineup to lead off, where he has such good contact, he's probably going to get on base. His vision's still really solid, even though it got nerfed by only 3 points. His power's not that good, so that's why I don't say he's more of a... He's not like a 3 to 6 hitter, because he doesn't have that power, but he's definitely a 1 to 2, or an 8 to 9 maybe. His discipline's better now. His speed's really solid. Reaction fielding and arm strength are amazing. His arm accuracy is not that bad, but he's a center fielder, so a lot of them just throw and pray. Ian Happ, this does kind of disappoint me a little bit. His discipline went up, but his vision's now a 33, which makes him trade bait for me. I would love to have him in my lineup as a backup where he's 78, but I do not want a backup whose vision is so bad that if it comes down to injury, he's unreliable. Also, where his contact and power aren't necessarily astounding, with that bad vision, makes it even worse. If he had really good contact or really good power but bad vision, I'd find it more acceptable, but he doesn't really have outstanding either quite yet. Corey Dickerson, his major boost came to speed. He's now a 59, which doesn't seem like a lot, but he might be able to steal a base now. And he is an 85 overall, so he's definitely probably going to be most likely a starting left fielder if you're rebuilding the Rays, or he might be someone you can trade for. It's going to be hard, though, because 85 overall, you most likely have to give up a decent amount of good potential prospects for him in return. His power did go up versus left, but his right makes him a very valuable piece in your lineup. His fielding also went up 7, which is not incredible that it's a 62 overall, but it's a lot more usable, a lot less errors, maybe less base runners. Also, Max Scherzer now joins the 95 for higher club. His hits per 9 went up 5, and his walks per 9 went up 2 for a total of 2 overall. So he's now at 95 from a 93. He's doing actually really solid this year with only a 2.28 ERA. If the Nats had a better lineup, he'd probably have a better record. AJ Cole also went up, doesn't explain why. And then we go to the negatives real quick. As you can see, there's a lot of pages of Yan Gomes. He appears on 4 pages in a row. Doesn't really explain that whatsoever. We start to see negatives here. Just a lot of it's the standard bullpen guy losing stamina, so his overall drops a little bit. Also, the more I don't even know why this guy got thrown into the update. I mean, he's a 45 overall. Who really gives a shit? Why he's even in the pros, I don't even understand. He's a terrible pitcher. Ricardo, terrible pitcher. I think if you get a drop of 3, they should at least explain why you dropped. But a lot of these, they don't. Even drops of 4, they're not explaining. This is actually the first guy who explains. Aledmus Diaz from the Cardinals, shortstop. He dropped major versus lefties. So he's probably trade bait at this point, where his contact and power versus lefties is very disappointing at this point. Going down 21 and 10. Contact versus right, still respectable, so you could use him as a backup if you have to. But I believe his contract makes him more trade bait because I believe he's slightly in the expensive range. His discipline's still respectable, I guess. More people, it doesn't really say. This pitcher, Brendan Moore, not a bad closer, but those stats that went down are pivotal to a closer for me, or at least on my team. You have more of the stamina dropping, and that's the same guy. Why is he still there? Then you have Kyle Schwarber. I believe that's the guy who got demoted to triple A. That's why he has an eye on his hat. His contact went down 15 and 10. Down to a 33 contact versus left. Definitely trade bait. Nothing else. Stamina drop. Nothing. Tyler Clippard, relief pitcher for the Yankees. His walk per 9, HR per 9 went down 10 and 13, so he saw a drop of 6. A lot of it's his H per 9 went down to an 87, so it's not carrying him as hard. His break is a 99, which is actually quite astounding. I've traded for him quite a few times, actually. Drupi De La Rosa, again, another stamina drop. Anyway, guys, that is the roster breakdown for the latest update. I know I'm most likely late in this scenario, but again, I try to get it out to you as soon as I see it. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you found this roster update useful for anything you plan to do in the future. And also, remember, if Joe Kelly can gain 70 velocity in an update, then you can become president. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.